Let me ask you something. Are you tired of watching success from the sidelines? Are you sick of knowing you're capable of more, yet waking up every day and settling for less? Listen, you weren't born to be average. You weren't built to blend in. You were designed for greatness, wired to win, and destined to dominate. Desire is one of the most overvalued emotions in the pursuit of success. It feels powerful, even addictive. A burst of energy that convinces you you're on the edge of transformation. You see someone winning, dominating, living the life you want, and suddenly you're filled with desire. You say to yourself, I want that. In that moment, it feels like enough. But the truth is, it's not. Desire might spark the fire, but it won't keep it burning. It's just emotional fuel, quick to ignite, but even quicker to fade. Desire whispers promises it doesn't have the power to keep. It tells you that just wanting something bad enough is a strategy, that wishing hard enough is a plan. But how many people want to be wealthy? How many people want to be fit, free, fulfilled, and successful? Millions. And how many actually put in the work required? A fraction. Because desire doesn't move your feet. It doesn't make you do the push-ups. It doesn't make you pick up the phone or stay up late grinding. That job belongs to something else entirely. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for inspiration. It doesn't consult your emotions or ask for permission. Discipline just shows up, ready to go to work, whether it's Monday or Friday, whether you're rested or exhausted, whether you're excited or empty. It's the engine that keeps going long after motivation dies. While desire is mood dependent, discipline is decision dependent. It's a commitment, not a feeling. It's a choice you make over and over again, even when every part of you wants to quit. The reason so many people never reach their full potential is because they keep chasing the high of desire, waiting to feel ready. They look for motivation the way a junkie looks for a fix, thinking they need that emotional buzz to act. But winners know the truth. Waiting to feel like working is a luxury you can't afford. If you're serious about results, you need to be fueled by something deeper, something sturdier, something that can survive the storms of boredom, fatigue, and failure. That's what discipline is made for. Desire is loud in the beginning. It makes grand declarations. It gets you excited to start the business, hit the gym, write the book. But when it's 5 a.m. and you're tired, when you've failed 5 times in a row, when nobody's cheering you on, desire disappears. It hides. It quits. That's where most people stop, right at the edge of greatness, because they never train themselves to lean on discipline instead of desire. And the ones who keep going, they're not superhuman. They're not more talented. They've just made discipline their default. Discipline doesn't always look pretty. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet, steady, and often invisible. It's the silent hours spent grinding when no one's watching. It's choosing the hard thing again and again. It's getting uncomfortable on purpose. It's embracing repetition until it becomes part of you. People may not notice it right away, but over time, discipline builds results that even desire could never dream of producing. It takes maturity to recognize that feelings are temporary, but outcomes are permanent. Desire chases moments. Discipline builds monuments. You don't become great because you felt like it one day. You become great because you chose to keep going every day, regardless of how you felt. Because you decided that your future deserved your consistency, not your convenience. And while others were busy feeding their desire, you were building your discipline, brick by brick. Discipline is what bridges the gap between goals and achievement. It's the reason someone who's less talented, less connected, or less experienced can still rise to the top, because they were willing to outwork everyone else. Not just when it was exciting, but when it was boring. Not just when the lights were on, but when no one was watching. Because they understood early on, desire is weak. It may look good, but it won't carry you. Only discipline will. Motivation is one of the most misunderstood tools in personal growth. People treat it like it's the fuel for achievement, like it's the necessary spark before action can begin. They wait for it, hunt for it, and even depend on it. But motivation is like the weather. It changes without warning. One day it's bright and energizing. The next day it's gone without explanation. It's emotional. It's inconsistent. And worst of all, it's unreliable. Building anything meaningful on a foundation of motivation is like building a house on sand. The moment the winds shift, everything collapses. There's a reason so many people start fast and fade out. They get fired up after hearing a speech, watching a video, or scrolling past a quote that speaks to them. They feel inspired, ready to take on the world, and for a while they actually do. They get up early, they hit the gym, they make the calls. But the moment life punches them in the face, the moment results are slower than expected, or stress starts to build, not because they aren't capable, but because they relied on motivation to carry them, and motivation doesn't have the legs for long-distance journeys. The truth is, if you want to go far, you need more than emotion. You need something that doesn't fade with feelings. That's where force comes in. Force isn't emotional, it's intentional. It's not about how you feel, it's about what you do regardless of how you feel. Force is discipline in motion. It's the ability to push yourself forward when your body wants to rest and your mind wants to quit. It's about creating movement, not waiting for it to arrive. And the people who win in life, they don't wait for the perfect moment, they create it through force. Force is the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs act when they feel like it. Professionals act regardless. Force is the wake-up call, the silent alarm inside that says, get up, get to work. Not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because the mission matters more than the mood. When you train yourself to move by force, you become dangerous. You're no longer reactive, you're proactive. You no longer need hype to work, you work because it's not negotiable. Most people talk about their dreams with fire in their eyes, but when it comes time to execute, they disappear. That's because their drive was tied to motivation. They thought they needed to feel good to move, but movement creates momentum, and momentum is the real game changer. Force creates that first step, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts, because those are the moments that separate the committed from the curious. Those are the moments where force becomes power. Force teaches you that you don't need to feel ready, you just need to decide. You don't need a motivational video, you need standards. You don't need a support group cheering you on, you need to get uncomfortable and stay there until discomfort becomes normal. Force is what shows up when motivation runs out, and that moment is always coming. No matter how fired up you feel today, there will be a day when that fire dims. And what you do on that day, that defines your future. Force is about commanding your willpower when your emotions are screaming no. It's about pushing the limits of what you think you can handle. It's about breaking the cycle of quitting, delaying, and excusing. And the crazy thing, the more you use force, the stronger it gets. It becomes your default response. It becomes who you are. Not someone who waits to feel like it, but someone who makes it happen anyway. That kind of mindset builds resilience, and resilience builds results. Everyone wants the reward, but only a few are willing to apply force through the process. Those few aren't the lucky ones. They're the ones who learn that success doesn't respond to how pumped you are, it responds to how persistent you are. It responds to action, repeated, unrelenting, no matter what kind of action. Not because motivation showed up, but because they did. Not because they felt like it, but because they forced it. Comfort is one of the most dangerous environments you can live in because it doesn't look like a threat. It disguises itself as peace, as rest, as safety. It whispers, you've done enough, when you're only scratching the surface. It says, take it easy, when you know deep down there's more in you. Comfort doesn't scream like failure. It sneaks in like a friend. But make no mistake, it's a thief. It steals growth, potential, ambition, and the urgency to improve, all while making you believe you're just being kind to yourself. When you choose comfort repeatedly, you slowly start trading long-term greatness for short-term ease. That one skipped workout becomes two, then a week. That delayed goal becomes a forgotten dream. And the worst part? You rarely notice it happening. You tell yourself, I'll get to it later, but later becomes next month, then next year, then never. Comfort lulls you into a sleep so deep, you forget you were ever supposed to wake up and do something more with your life. It doesn't need to beat you, it just needs you to settle. People don't usually fail because they were incapable. They fail because they got comfortable too soon. They reached a level of progress that looked decent from the outside and decided that was enough. They found a routine that didn't challenge them and stayed in it for years. They let the applause of average drown out the voice inside that knew they were made for more. Comfort becomes a cage, and the door is always open, but people rarely walk out of it because the cage is just comfortable enough to stay. Comfort teaches you to avoid pain, but pain is where growth lives. It's in the strain, the stretch, the pressure. That's where you become more. But comfort says avoid that. So instead of building mental toughness, you build habits of avoidance. Instead of confronting weakness, you hide from it. Instead of pursuing mastery, you settle for mediocrity. And over time, comfort becomes your identity. You start labeling limitations as personality traits. I'm just not built for that, when really you just never forced yourself to become it. It's not that comfort is always bad. Rest has its place. Recovery matters. But the problem is when you turn recovery into routine, when every little challenge becomes an excuse to pause, when your threshold for discomfort gets so low that even a minor inconvenience feels like a mountain. At that point, comfort has not only killed your potential, it's trained you to defend your limits. You no longer just accept mediocrity, you protect it. High achievers have the same temptations. They feel the same pull toward ease, but they've learned to reject comfort when it gets in the way of the mission. They know that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. They understand that comfort might feel good in the moment, but it robs you in the long run. They feel the urge to coast, but they push anyway because they know coasting is just another word for slowly dying potential. There's a part of you right now that's craving more, that knows you're capable of more. But the louder part might be saying you're fine here. That voice is the voice of comfort, and it's lying to you. You're not supposed to stay in the same place. You're not supposed to feel fulfilled by safety. Growth requires risk. Success demands pressure. The next level doesn't exist inside your comfort zone. It lives on the other side of it, waiting for you to get uncomfortable enough to go get it. Comfort rarely announces its presence. It doesn't barge in. It eases in slowly. A little sleep, a little delay, a little break, and before you know it, you've traded potential for passivity. The life you could have lived is still out there, but you stayed behind because comfort convinced you that staying still was better than stumbling forward. And the longer you stay, the quieter your ambition becomes, until one day you can't even hear it anymore. You weren't born to be average. There's nothing about your existence that suggests you were designed to live a small, predictable, forgettable life. From the moment you took your first breath, there was potential coded into your DNA, unique gifts, untapped power, and a purpose that no one else can fulfill. Yet somewhere along the way, the world tried to convince you otherwise. It told you to tone it down, stay in line, follow the rules, and not want too much. And if you listen long enough, average starts to sound acceptable, but deep down, you know it's not. Average isn't about ability, it's about belief. People don't live average lives because they aren't talented or intelligent. They live that way because they bought into a system that rewards mediocrity and punishes ambition. They start dreaming big and are told to be realistic. They take risks and are told to play it safe. And so they shrink, they compromise, they aim for what's easy instead of what's possible. But ease was never the goal. You weren't placed on this earth to blend in with the crowd. You were meant to stand out and lead. There's a reason you feel restless when you're not growing, a reason you feel uneasy when you settle. It's because your spirit was not built for stagnation. It was built for expansion. You're not here to simply make it through the week. You're here to change the game, to shift the room when you walk in, to bring something to the table that no one else can. But none of that happens if you're trying to be normal. Normal never broke records. Normal never changed lives. Normal never became legendary. When you look around and see people coasting through life, understand this: they're not your competition. They're your caution sign. They're what happens when you accept comfort over calling, when you choose predictability over purpose. They are living proof of what it looks like to betray your own potential. Not because they're bad people, but because they made average a habit. And habits, when repeated long enough, become identity. That's why breaking free requires more than effort. It requires a shift in who you believe you are. Inside of you, there's a version that scares the life out of your excuses. A version that doesn't need validation, doesn't fear rejection, and refuses to settle for anything less than excellence. That version isn't buried, it's just been buried under layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, that version gets closer to the surface. Every time you say yes to growth and no to comfort, you're proving that average is no longer acceptable. Because it never was. You just forgot what greatness felt like. Being above average doesn't mean being better than others. It means being better than the limits you've placed on yourself. It means pushing past the lines you drew in the sand when you were scared, tired, or uncertain. It means holding yourself to a higher standard, not for applause, but for alignment with who you are, with what you're called to do, with the difference you were designed to make. You can feel that truth in your bones when you're still and honest with yourself. You're not meant for a quiet, invisible life. You were born to be a force. Look back at everything you've survived. Every loss, every failure, every setback you thought would break you, you're still here, not by accident, but by intention. That alone disqualifies you from calling yourself average. Average doesn't endure. Average doesn't rise. But you did. You've already proven you're more than most would even attempt to be. And yet, there's more in you. That's the beauty and the burden of greatness. It never settles because it knows settling would be a betrayal of what's possible. You don't need anyone's permission to level up. You don't need approval to rise. You just need to decide that who you really are is no longer going to sit quietly behind who you've been pretending to be. There's work to be done and average can't do it. There's impact to make and average won't reach it. There's a future waiting to be built and average doesn't have the vision. You were never meant to chase what's typical. You were made to set the standard. Discipline is one of those things everyone talks about, but few are truly willing to master. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, and it doesn't come with applause. It shows up in the quiet moments. The moments where no one is watching, no one is cheering, and no one would blame you for quitting. That's when discipline matters most. It's easy to act when you feel inspired, when everything is going your way, when the sun is shining and the results are showing. But discipline doesn't care about those moments. Discipline shows up, especially when you don't feel like it. There are days when your body is tired, your mind is heavy, and the last thing you want to do is show up and put in the work. That's where most people stop. That's the moment they say, I'll start again tomorrow. But the ones who are built different, the ones who build legacies, not just habits, they move anyway. They don't wait to feel ready because they understand that readiness is a luxury, not a requirement. They've trained themselves to act despite the feeling, not because of it. And that is where real transformation begins. It's not about being robotic or emotionless. It's about being committed. It's about placing your mission above your mood. Discipline says, I don't need to feel good to do what needs to be done. Because emotions are temporary, but the consequences of skipping the work are long-lasting. Every skipped rep, every missed hour, every delayed effort, it compounds. And so does every moment you push through resistance. Every time you move, when your mind says not today, you're rewriting your identity into someone who finishes what they start. People love talking about goals. They love casting vision and creating plans, but very few are willing to do the boring, repetitive, difficult work required to reach those goals on the days they feel drained. That's where the gap lives, the gap between dreaming and achieving. And discipline is the bridge. It's the ability to get up at 5 a.m. when your bed feels like heaven. It's the willingness to train when no one else is. It's showing up to build even when results are invisible and progress feels like it's standing still. We're conditioned to believe that the grind should feel good, that passion will carry us, that purpose will always feel powerful. But the truth is, there are long stretches where none of it feels rewarding. The progress is slow, the results are hidden, the support is missing, and all you have is your word, your routine, and your discipline. That's when you discover what you're really made of. Because talk is cheap when you're motivated. It's what you do when you're uninspired that separates the winners from the wishers. Discipline is the quiet decision to keep your promises to yourself. It's a form of self-respect. Every time you do the thing you said you would do, especially when it's uncomfortable, you reinforce your identity as someone who finishes. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop giving into the voice that says, it's okay to skip just this once. Because you know one compromise leads to another. And eventually those tiny decisions become the reason you never reach what you are capable of achieving. There is nothing flashy about discipline. It doesn't post on social media. It doesn't crave validation. It doesn't need an audience. It's just there, early in the morning, late at night, in the background, doing the work. It's what separates those who say someday from those who say done. And the longer you practice it, the more natural it becomes. It doesn't mean the feelings go away. It means your ability to move, regardless of those feelings, gets stronger. It becomes part of your wiring. Discipline is doing it when you don't feel like it over and over until the work becomes second nature, until commitment becomes instinct, until you're no longer driven by how you feel, but by who you've decided to be. It's not about forcing perfection every day. It's about refusing to be guided by weakness. It's about building something so solid within yourself that even on your worst day, your habits still carry you forward because you've trained yourself to be stronger than your excuses. Excuses are one of the most dangerous things a person can rely on because they don't sound like failure. They sound like reason. They dress themselves up in logic, in timing, in circumstance. They wrap themselves in the language of responsibility, maturity, and justification. It's not the right time. I have too much going on. I'll start when things settle down. These statements feel true, and that's what makes them so powerful. But when you strip away the comfortable language and look underneath, what you find is fear, hesitation, and avoidance in disguise. Excuses give you permission to stay where you are. They offer comfort while killing momentum. They tell you that you're being wise when really you're just stalling. And the worst part, most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're protecting themselves from risk or failure, but what they're really doing is avoiding responsibility for their own growth. Excuses are easy to believe because they give you a way out that feels noble, but they're not noble. They're a trap, a mental safety net that quietly becomes a ceiling. People think of lies as something told to others, but the most damaging lies are the ones we tell ourselves. I'm not ready. I don't have the resources. I'm too old, too young, too busy, too inexperienced. These aren't statements of truth. They're statements of surrender. They're the stories we repeat in our minds to avoid the discomfort of change. And over time, these stories harden into beliefs that shape how we see ourselves, what we expect from life, and what we even attempt to reach for. That's how people end up stuck for years, trapped not by circumstances, but by excuses. Always sound rational because they wear the mask of logic, but logic without action is just stagnation dressed up as intelligence. You can have a perfectly logical reason to stay stuck, to delay, to wait, but that doesn't make it right. It just makes it sound better. You can convince yourself that you're being smart when really you're being scared. And fear has a way of dressing up as wisdom when you don't call it out for what it is. That's why excuses are so deceptive. They let you feel justified in playing small. It's not that obstacles aren't real. Life throws real challenges, bills, responsibilities, setbacks. Those are real, but your response is still your choice. Your mindset is still your responsibility. The question is never, is the excuse true? The question is it stopping me from becoming who I'm supposed to be? Because if it is, then it doesn't matter how true it feels, it's still a lie to your potential. And the more you allow it, the more you normalize it, you become someone who reasons with mediocrity, who negotiates with procrastination, who gets good at explaining why they haven't done what they were born to do. Excuses are clever. They evolve with your environment. As you grow, they shift their shape to match your new level. When you're broke, they say you need money. When you have money, they say you don't have time. When you get time, they say you don't have clarity. It never ends. Because the point of an excuse isn't to help you, it's to stop you. It's the voice of resistance, and resistance doesn't care what you achieve. It only cares that you don't move. It will feed you any story that keeps you standing still. Every time you repeat an excuse, you reinforce the belief that your current state is acceptable. You reinforce the idea that your goals can wait. But dreams don't survive delay. They fade in it. What you tolerate, you teach yourself to accept. So when you keep letting excuses win, you teach your mind that results are optional. You train your body to move only when it feels good, and you teach your soul to forget what it came here to do. That's how people lose decades. By making small, logical decisions that never lead to change. The truth is, you can have results or you can have excuses, but you cannot have both. Every time you choose the excuse, you reject the growth. You reject the stretch. You reject the next level. And it doesn't happen loudly. It happens quietly, wrapped in good reasons. That's the trick. That's the lie. And the longer you live in that lie, the more real it feels. But if you want to grow, if you want to lead, if you want to become something more, you've got to stop reasoning with limitations and start declaring war on your excuses. Success is not a choice, it's a responsibility. The world tells us that success is something you can choose to pursue or choose to avoid, that it's a path only for the lucky few or the exceptionally gifted. But the truth is, success isn't optional. It's not a luxury for the privileged. It's a duty that calls to every single one of us. We are all born with something inside of us, potential, talent, drive, that demands to be realized. The question is never whether you can achieve success, but whether you'll take on the responsibility of pursuing it with everything you have. Most people think of success as something they can decide to go after when it's convenient or when the timing feels right. But success doesn't wait for the right moment. It doesn't negotiate with excuses or adjust its timetable based on how you feel. The moment you decide to let success be optional, you hand over your power to fear, doubt, and procrastination. The reality is that success requires a relentless commitment. A fire that burns even when the world tells you to slow down or take a break. If you're waiting for the perfect time, you're already making the biggest mistake of all. The time is now, because success is your responsibility today. This responsibility is not about avoiding failure. It's about taking ownership of the journey. You're not here to simply be content with what you've been given or to live in the comfort of mediocrity. You're here to expand, to push boundaries, and to take everything you've been given and turn it into something extraordinary. You owe it to yourself to bring your full potential to life, not only for your benefit, but for the impact you can make on the world. Success is about purpose, not privilege. It's about the work, the sacrifice, and the discipline you put in, even when it feels like no one is watching. People love to admire success from a distance, but what they often fail to realize is that it comes with a price. That price is your time, your energy, your sweat, and your sacrifices. Success is not given, it's earned every single day through consistent action and dedication. There is no shortcut to the top, no easy road. The responsibility of success means you take full ownership of your actions. It's not about waiting for someone else to give you the green light or permission to move forward. It's about recognizing that every day you wake up is another opportunity to step closer to what you've promised yourself you would become. The people who achieve success are not the ones who simply dream big and hope for the best. They're the ones who put in the work when everyone else is sitting back, making excuses, or letting life dictate their pace. They take full responsibility for their journey, knowing that every setback, every failure, and every challenge is just a part of the process. They don't waste time blaming others, complaining, or waiting for conditions to improve. They understand that success doesn't owe them anything, and neither does the world. It's their responsibility to make it happen, no matter the circumstances. One of the most important aspects of success is discipline. It's easy to feel motivated when things are going well, when you're riding high on excitement and possibility. But the true test of success is what you do when motivation fades, when obstacles appear, and when the road ahead seems unclear. In those moments, you don't have the luxury of relying on external factors to get you through. You are responsible for maintaining your own fire. Success is not optional, and neither is your commitment to showing up every day, even when the journey feels difficult, even when it feels like you're not making progress. That's where growth happens, in those moments where you choose to push forward. The world will never hand you success on a silver platter. You won't be given special treatment or an easy pass. You can't just hope for the best and expect things to fall into place. Success is your responsibility because you are the only one who has the power to create it. You have the control to choose whether you put in the effort, whether you take risks, whether you push through pain and adversity. You are the creator of your own destiny. Waiting for someone else to push you, motivate you, or save you is a waste of time. The responsibility to succeed is yours and yours alone. When you embrace the responsibility of success, you stop viewing failure as something to fear. You start seeing it as a stepping stone, as a lesson, as a part of the process. Success requires resilience, tenacity, and the ability to keep moving forward. No matter how many times you fall, you stop making excuses, stop waiting for the perfect conditions, and start recognizing that the road to success is paved with actions, decisions, and the daily discipline of doing the hard things, even when you'd rather not. It's not about waiting for success to come knocking at your door. It's about taking responsibility and going out there to create it. There will always be days when you feel tired, when the weight of the world seems heavier than your shoulders can bear. There will be times when you're drained, when every fiber of your being screams for a break, for rest, for a moment to just breathe. But here's the hard truth. Success, growth, and achievement don't care about how you feel. They don't wait for you to catch up with your emotions or give you the luxury of taking it easy. If you're tired, work harder. If you're uninspired, work anyway. Because it's in those moments of exhaustion, of uncertainty, that the true difference is made. It's easy to be motivated when everything aligns, when you wake up feeling energized and the path ahead seems clear. But real progress happens when the path isn't clear. When you're pushing through mental and physical fatigue, motivation comes and goes. It's like a wave that rises and falls. But discipline doesn't rely on how you feel. Discipline says, I'm going to show up even if I don't want to. It's what keeps you moving forward when every part of you is screaming to stop. It's the engine that powers you when motivation is nowhere to be found. Every time you push past your tiredness, you're not just working harder, you're reshaping your mindset. You're proving to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses, that you are capable of doing more than what you thought was possible. The moment you decide that tiredness won't stop you, you begin to expand the boundaries of what you're capable of. It's no longer about how you feel in the moment. It's about who you are becoming through the process. It's about setting a standard for yourself and refusing to let anything, including your own feelings, lower it. Uninspired? Work anyway. The truth is, inspiration is fleeting. It doesn't show up when you need it most. And it doesn't stay long enough to build real momentum. Waiting for inspiration to hit is like waiting for the perfect storm. It's unreliable, unpredictable, and usually doesn't come when you expect it. But if you commit to working anyway, even when inspiration isn't there, you'll find that inspiration often follows action. The act of showing up, of doing the work, even when it feels like you're going through the motions, can spark creativity, ignite passion, and create momentum that drives you forward. The greatest creators, the most successful people, the ones who achieve their dreams, they're not the ones who wait for the perfect moment. They're the ones who work when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when they're tired, when they're uninspired. They don't get a free pass. They don't have a magic formula that keeps them motivated all the time. What they have is the ability to do the work regardless of how they feel. They know that real progress doesn't happen when everything is easy. It happens when you push past the resistance and keep going even when you don't feel like it. There's a lesson in every moment of discomfort, and there's growth in every struggle. When you're tired, when you're uninspired, you're being tested. This is the moment where you decide whether you want success enough to keep going, even when it feels impossible. It's easy to rest when you've earned it. It's hard to rest when you've convinced yourself that you'll do it later. But real strength comes from making the decision to push through those moments, to fight through your fatigue, and to continue working even when your energy is depleted. It's in those moments that your future self thanks you. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And one of the hardest systems to build is the one that gets you to work when you're tired, when the inspiration is gone, when your mind is filled with doubt. That's where success is forged, in the everyday grind, in the ability to show up, even when showing up is the last thing you want to do. It's easy to feel motivated when everything is going well, but when things get tough, that's when you see who's truly committed to their craft, to their future, and to their success. So the next time you feel tired, don't give in to the temptation of taking it easy. The next time inspiration seems out of reach, don't wait for it to come to you. Work anyway. Because while others are resting, waiting, and hoping for motivation to return, you'll be out there making progress, one small step at a time. It's not the moments when everything is aligned that define your success. It's the moments when you choose to work harder, to show up, to keep going, when everything in you says stop. And it's in those moments that you create the future you've always wanted. Excuses are nothing more than self-imposed barriers. Fragile stories we tell ourselves to justify why we're not where we want to be. They are the easiest way to avoid discomfort, the simplest way to make our lack of progress feel okay. But excuses don't move you forward. They keep you stuck in the same place, convincing you that it's okay to stay there. I don't have time. I'm not good enough. It's too late to start now. These are the lies we use to stay in the safety of our comfort zones. The truth is, if you want to achieve something real, something significant, excuses have to be burned. You have to see them for what they truly are, distractions from the life you are meant to live. The first step is recognizing the excuse for what it is. Too often we let excuses slide under the radar, thinking they're valid reasons, convincing ourselves that our delays are justified. But once you confront an excuse, once you realize that it's just a form of procrastination, wearing a different outfit, you can take away its power. The next time you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, ask yourself why. Why are you giving yourself permission to postpone your dreams? Why are you choosing comfort over action? Burning the excuse starts with the simple act of acknowledging that it's not a reason, it's a roadblock you've created in your own mind. Once you've burned the excuses, you need to bury the distractions. The world is filled with distractions that can easily lead you astray, from social media to people to your own habits that keep you from focusing on what matters. These distractions are seductive. They promise relief, entertainment, and a quick fix for your restless mind. But in the long run, they steal your time, your energy, and your focus. They're the silent killers of productivity and progress. Burying the distractions means putting boundaries around your attention, refusing to let things that don't contribute to your goals take away your time. You have to become ruthless with what you allow into your space. Distractions take many forms, and they're often the hardest to recognize. They show up as harmless activities like scrolling through your phone, watching TV, or engaging in conversations that don't move you forward. The trick with distractions is that they don't feel wrong in the moment. They feel like breaks or little escapes from the pressure of the task at hand. But when you step back and look at your day, you realize that these small moments of distraction add up. They're the reason you didn't finish the project you started or why you put off taking the next step toward your goal. When you choose distractions over discipline, you're choosing delay and you're allowing your dreams to sit on the back burner. The hardest part about burying distractions is not just removing the external ones, but also eliminating the internal ones. Our minds are often our biggest distractions, filled with self-doubt, fear, and uncertainty. These mental distractions are harder to recognize because they come from within, but they are just as dangerous. They whisper, "You're not good enough," or "What's the point? It's too hard." These are distractions that hold you back from moving forward, that convince you to procrastinate or abandon your goals. Burying these internal distractions means rewriting your internal narrative, building resilience, and training yourself to push through doubt with action, not avoidance. When you burn the excuses and bury the distractions, you're creating a foundation of power. You're taking control of your environment and your mindset, deciding that your goals are more important than any momentary comfort. You're committing to progress no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be. This process isn't easy. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront the things that hold you back. But the reward is worth it, because the more you eliminate distractions and excuses, the clearer your path becomes. You stop getting sidetracked by things that don't matter, and you begin to focus all of your energy on what truly moves you forward. The power of burning excuses and burying distractions lies in your ability to stay consistent. It's not enough to do it once or twice. You must make it a habit. Every time an excuse tries to creep in, you need to remember why you're burning it in the first place, because it's a lie. Every time a distraction tries to take your attention, you need to remind yourself that you're in charge of your focus and you've made the choice to prioritize what matters. This constant act of choosing your goals over comfort, of pushing through the resistance, is what will ultimately lead you to the success you've been chasing. And as you do this, you'll begin to see the results. Your life will change in ways you never expected. The more you burn excuses and bury distractions, the more your momentum builds. You'll notice that you're achieving things you once thought were impossible. You'll feel the confidence that comes from knowing that your progress is a direct result of the decisions you've made. You'll have more time, more energy, and more clarity to focus on what truly, and it will feel amazing, because you know that success is no longer something you're waiting for. It's something you're actively creating, one decision at a time. Work like your life depends on it, because it does. This is not just a motivational phrase. It's a truth that we all need to fully grasp. Every day you wake up and have the opportunity to pursue your goals, you are given a precious gift. Time. Time is the most finite resource you have, and how you choose to spend it can literally determine the quality of your life. It's not enough to show up passively, to move through your days without purpose or intensity. You have to treat your work as if everything you've ever wanted depends on it, because it does. The life you've envisioned, the person you want to become, and the legacy you want to leave all rest on the foundation of how hard you're willing to work. Too many people go through life thinking they can coast, that success will come with minimal effort or after they've been given a few breaks. But success is not a handout, and life doesn't owe you anything. If you want to build a life that's worth living, if you want to experience the rewards of hard work, then you need to stop waiting for permission. You have to commit to the grind. There's no magic moment when everything falls into place. There's only the work you're willing to do when no one is watching, when it's just you and your dreams and the sweat you're willing to pour into making them a reality. When you work like your life depends on it, you stop wasting time on trivial distractions. You become laser focused on what truly matters. Every minute of your day becomes valuable, every action purposeful. There's no more procrastination, no more I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow doesn't exist. All you have is today. And what you do today determines what tomorrow will bring. When your work becomes a life or death matter, you develop a sense of urgency that fuels you to push past complacency and toward the life you deserve. Every decision, every task becomes a stepping stone to building the future you've dreamed of. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent or luck. It's the intensity with which they work. Working like your life depends on it means that you give your all day in and day out, no matter how tough things get. You don't back down when the going gets hard. You don't give up when the road is steep, and you don't stop when you're tired. You push yourself to new limits because you know that every ounce of effort you put in now is building the life you'll have tomorrow. You can't afford to half-ass it. You can't afford to settle for mediocrity. You give it your best because you understand that this moment is a choice, and the consequences of not choosing to give your all could mean the difference between success and regret. Working like your life depends on it means holding yourself to a higher standard. It means never letting yourself off the hook. It means waking up every morning with the mindset that today is a day to move closer to your goals, no matter how small the steps may be. It means you are accountable to your future self and you take that responsibility seriously. It's easy to let excuses slip in. I'm tired. It's not the right time. Or I'll do it tomorrow. But when you treat your work like your life depends on it, those excuses lose their power. They're no longer valid because the stakes are too high. You know that your dreams won't wait, and neither will the hard work needed to make them happen. When you adopt this mentality, you begin to see the result in every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you work hard to show up for those you care about. Your health improves because you work hard to take care of your body. Your finances improve because you work hard to create opportunities and pursue your goals with passion. The work you put in doesn't just create results in one area. It creates a ripple effect influencing every part of your life. It's this consistent effort that compounds over time and leads to the success you're striving for. Nothing great happens without intense work. And when you give your all, you see the rewards in all aspects of your life. There will be days when you don't feel like working, when you'd rather rest or take it easy. But when you work like your life depends on it, you don't let your emotions dictate your actions. You push through the discomfort because you know that nothing worthwhile comes without sacrifice. The moment you give in to the desire for comfort, you're making a choice to stay in the same place. If you truly want to grow, to become more, to create the life you've always dreamed of, then you need to work harder than ever before, every single day. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You create your own motivation through the work you do, even when you don't feel like it. Success doesn't care about your excuses, your doubts, or your fears. It only cares about how much you're willing to work for it. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, how many times you stumble, or how many people doubt you. What matters is that you keep working no matter what. When you work like your life depends on it, you're betting on yourself. You're putting everything you have into becoming the best version of yourself. And with every ounce of energy, every bit of focus, and every moment of effort, you build the life that is worth living. Because in the end, it's not just about the work. It's about the life that the work creates.